Good work on the homework. Appreciate you guys doing that, taking it seriously. And for those of you who didn't, way to hide. You guys did a good job. But seriously, the homework is there to help you walk this out. I don't want to just pour information on you without giving you a chance to practice it. So I don't check your homework. You get a chance to share it, but it's for you. If you want to grow in this, that's one way to do it. Today we're going to talk about a couple of things, but one of them is pain. I want to pose this question. Is pain always a bad thing? What do you guys think? And it sounds like a trick question, right? But what do you think? Is it always a bad thing?
No. No pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain.
I read Paul Brand's book about leprosy
Yeah.
when I was a kid, and that really got me thinking about it.
Really?
They have no nerve endings. They cannot feel pain.
Yeah.
That's why the flesh degrades.
Yes. Yeah, and so it's not rotting because like there's a disease there. It's rotting because when they bump into things, they don't heal. They can't tell that they're running into it. So, imagine. I was thinking, if I was going to lose one of my five senses, probably the last one I'd ever want to lose is touch. Because if I can't feel pain, I don't know if I broke my leg. If I can't feel pain, I don't know if I need to stop. There's a lot of things that could happen to me. I heard of a woman who, she had a procedure, and right after she had the procedure, she was walking out on the beach, and the procedure caused her to not have feeling in her legs. And she was walking out on the beach, and her friend said, "Oh my God, you stepped on a piece of glass," and she was bleeding all over the place, like a severe gash, and she didn't know. And so, no, pain, you're right, pain is not always a bad thing. Now, I will say, we preach on earth as is in heaven here at this church. And that's something that we really thoroughly believe in. And so, we don't believe that God blesses us with physical pain. But physical pain is an indicator that something else is wrong. So if I have a stomach ache, I'm not just trying to stop the ache, I'm trying to heal what's wrong in me. Try to figure out where the problem is, what's going on. So when we're dealing with helping people, there's something that we need to think about is whether we should be trying to remove the pain that they're in for every person that we're helping. Because there may be instances where that actually is motivating people. Many people will change their lives because they're hurting. If your clothes start getting too tight, that's an indicator that something needs to change. Okay? And so, you've been eating too much, your pants start to get a little tight. It's uncomfortable. Something needs to be adjusted. So you either start going on a diet or you go buy a new pair of pants. Something has to be different. Pain is what motivates you. Discomfort is what motivates you toward that. Now, in the medical industry, a lot of people, and I love the medical industry, they're very good people there, but a lot of what the medical industry is based on is letting people stop feeling pain, but not necessarily dealing with the problem. And as we help people, we want to make sure that we're actually helping people get to the problem. If you remember last week we talked about getting past that surface behavior and seeing what is really underneath that, what's going on. And so like a quick fix to help somebody get out of pain may not necessarily in the long run help them. In fact, it might enable them. It might allow them to stay stuck in a spot that they might have otherwise been motivated to get out of if we had allowed that pain to run its course. So I had mentioned that, I think touch is the most important sense that we have. Any of the other five senses, or the other four senses, I think that we could find another way to live without them. But without the sense of touch, it would be really difficult to live a very long life. There would be a lot of challenges in that. Now, many times when I've dealt with people in places where I've helped, most people are just looking for a way to get out of their pain. They're not really looking to deal with the problem under the pain. When I worked in community mental health over in Preble County, I was a counselor there, and there was this guy that would come in, and we had caseworkers there as well, and he would come in and he would say, you know what, my life is just that close to being okay, I just need to find a way to get $100. If I got $100, I could buy this, and I'd get this in line, and I could start making money, and everything would be great. I just need to find $100. And I worked with some hard-working caseworkers there. And so one of the caseworkers I worked with said, okay, well, I'm going to go around and see how we can find this $100 for you. And eventually he found a couple of churches that were willing to chip in a little bit, and finally they got this guy $100. And he's saying, my life will be right back on track if I can just get this money. So he's saying he'll be right on back. The next week he comes back, he's like, I just need $80 more. I just need it, if I could just get $80 more, because I didn't realize I needed this piece for me to get on track. And you can imagine that what he was stuck in, there was more going on than just missing $100 or just missing $80. There was more that was going on with him. And so we learned pretty quickly to not just jump every time he said, well, there's a pain, there's an issue here. What he really needed was to find somebody that would help him get to the underneath that issue. Is where's the money going? You know, what's happening to it? Why do you keep getting into this cycle, and what can we do about that? Unfortunately, he was pretty good at it, and enough people he could talk to get to help him, and he kind of continued that. I don't think he ever got out of that cycle. Is he was constantly going around to people asking for help, and he just needed a little bit more, and so that never ended for him. If you help people for very long, you will get people who come to you with an urgent situation. Doing sozo ministry, as I've done for a few years, we'll every once in a while get somebody who will contact us and say, I need a sozo right now, immediately. I need a sozo today. You don't understand, my wife's going to kick me out if I don't get a sozo today. And my response will be, I'm going to look at my calendar and see when I have an open spot. And that's what I will offer to you. You call yourself a Christian? I need help right now. Well, that pain is serving a purpose. Now, you've been living with that pain for all up to this time, and you didn't need it desperately until today, but now you need it so bad. That pain may be the only thing motivating you to keep working. Because if I let you do that sozo right now, and you go back to your wife and say you did it, you just checked that thing off of your list, and now have we even dealt with the problem that made her say, I'm not putting up with that anymore until you go do that. And so I want to let people sit in their pain for just a little bit when they come to me. Not because I'm sadistic, not because I don't care about people, but because I know that pain might be the thing that they need to keep them motivated. When they come to me in a crises don't happen just today. Every once in a while they might. You know, somebody comes to me and they say, hey, my son was in a car accident, can you help? Well, obviously that is not because they have a cycle going on of issue. I'm not trying to get to the root of that. Of course, let's help. That's a real emergency. But when somebody else has just set a limit with you, and you're saying, I need your help, I need you to counsel me right now because they're going to kick me out, they're going to do this or that, I'm probably going to say, well, let's sit on that for a little bit. Let's kind of let that play its course, because I want to make sure you stay motivated to work on getting to the root of where the real problem is. They may not like you because of that. When you don't jump for their pain and try to immediately fix it, they may accuse you of saying, are you a real Christian? Do you call yourself a pastor? How can you do that? And so you have to set that kind of a boundary that where you're thinking, I'm thinking of helping the problem. I'm thinking of bringing healing to you, not just alleviating the pain. I don't want to give you a pile of medication when you've got a broken arm. We're going to have to do some work on that arm and figure out what do we need to do to help that heal. Because that pain might be the only motivation that guy has. And I might have even talked to the wife before, and she was complaining about the pain in the relationship, and I might have gone back and say, well, what are you going to do? Remember that? And she's decided to set a limit. And so now she got motivated enough to set a limit. Now he's getting motivated to work on things and change. And it's actually a good thing. Things that were going on are actually coming out. I don't want to too quickly eliminate motivation for change. I don't want to remove that too quickly. So the goal is not to make sure I get the sozo session in. The goal is not to make sure that we appease the person who said that they needed to have the sozo session. The goal is, how can we get to the root of your problem? And if you're motivated, you're the most motivated to do that when you have pain right now. You're the most motivated to look at that. So I'm going to bring up the root, and if you don't want to go there, if you're like, I just need to get back in the house, I just need to deal with this, I will probably say, you know what, let me know when you want to work on the roof. Oh, I do, I want to work on the roof. Because you're motivated, because there's still this discomfort and pain. I've got something that I can work with now. One of the best examples I can think of is in Scripture is the prodigal son. You guys all in here probably know the story. The son comes to the father and basically says, you know, give me my inheritance. I want to go and do what I want. Now the father knows it's not the best thing for him, but he also knows he wants him to be free. It's important that the son have the freedom to make this choice. If the father does not allow him to have the freedom, he may come to resent it. So the father allows him to make the choice, and you know what happens. He goes and spends all the money, blows it on revelry, he is with prostitutes and all different kinds of things. Eventually he runs out, and he winds up feeding pigs. And he's in there in a lot of pain. And he's basically really wanting to eat the slop that the pigs won't eat, because he has nothing. He finally comes to his senses. He's like, I got to change something. This is bad enough that I need to make a change. And he comes running back to the father, and you know the story. The father embraces him. He's ready to take him back in. But I want to ask you, what do you think would happen in that story if while the son was sitting in with the pigs, the father just kind of comes back to him and throws him a hamburger and then leaves? And then his stomach feels a little better for a while, you know? Or he gives him a few more dollars and then leaves. There's no motivation to change because he's keeping that going. We need to keep in mind what the ultimate goal is. It's not to alleviate the pain, it's to get to the root of why that pain is happening. And if you can deal with the root of why they are having that pain, then the pain will go away because they've adjusted their life. But not because you're numbing the pain, not because you're dealing directly with the pain. You're dealing with the root, the problem underneath it. But there are some lessons that we just won't learn if we don't have pain. Like, you never want to play Twister with a full bladder. You only have to do that once to learn that lesson. Right? Or you don't want to, start living on your own and eat takeout food every single day. Eventually there will be enough pain that you wind up in the hospital and you learn your lesson. Or you don't put dish soap in the dishwasher. That's a lesson that pain will teach you pretty quickly, and you will make an adjustment. Or you don't put a bowling ball at the top of the stairs. That's a bad idea. Pain will happen, and you will learn that lesson. You don't trust a guy selling 2 rabbits that says they're both male. You'll learn that lesson fast, too. Turning up the heat does not make it cook faster. Don't mess with geese. You'll learn that lesson pretty quickly too. And also, it's a bad idea to swallow your chewing gum. You don't want to do that. Now, ultimately though, there are some people that even when lessons happen, they still don't learn. Like this cat will never learn. Growth happens when misery surpasses fear. When I'm miserable enough to face the thing that I'm afraid of, I'm going to grow. And so sometimes pain will motivate me to deal with that fear in my life. It doesn't matter if it's a relationship or a job or a situation with somebody else. If you have enough misery, you will be motivated to change that. It may be removing yourself, it may be confronting the situation, but when it gets bad enough, you will deal with that. So, what are people willing to address to get rid of some of their pain? Are they willing to face their fears? Are they willing to learn how to trust people? You know, some people, they've had such a time with trust, but they feel this empty hole in them. And they say, you know what, I need to learn to trust because I'm not going to feel complete if I don't learn to trust somebody. They learn to feel loved, powerful, learn to face some things that they've been unwilling to face in the past. When the husband who's been kicked out says, you know, it's bad enough, I do not want to live another day without my wife. I'll do whatever it takes to get her back. And the wife says, I'm not willing to live another day living in that kind of situation. And so they both come together and said, something needs to change. Something needs to happen for us to live a better life. So you don't want to get distracted because of someone's pain. You don't want to let that divert you. Don't always think it's your job to take the pain away. And it's often not helpful to do so immediately. That's easy to say, but when you see somebody in pain, your first instinct is, I just want to help them. I want them to not feel the pain. And you have to recognize that that pain could be the only thing that's pulling them toward the lesson that they need to learn. It's Holy Spirit's job to comfort. So if they need comfort, let Holy Spirit do that first. And He may use you to bring comfort. But make sure it's Holy Spirit using you, not you just feeling bad for them. Right? It's your job to listen. It's your job to ask good questions. It's your job to empower. It's your job to help them find the problems leading to the pain. And is there something that they want to do about the problem? What do you want to do? Remember that? Here we are again. What are you going to do? Do you want to be powerful? Do you want to do something different? I'm going to ask those kinds of questions. Well, I came to you to take away my pain. I'm not going to do that, but I am willing to help you figure out how to get to deal with that pain and get rid of it. I'm here to help you. So if you would like my help figuring that out, I'm totally here to help you. But I'm not just going to throw a pile of money at you so you don't have that pain in your life, because that may be the only thing motivating you to figure out how to budget. We can't, pain is actually feedback. Pain is a sign to us that we need to pay attention to something. So if I have a pain in my tooth, that is telling me that, is that telling me to take an aspirin? Probably not. I mean, maybe I will in the short term, but ultimately, I need to do something with it. It's not going to get better unless Jesus comes and heals it, but it's not going to get better if I don't do something about it. And we're going to keep going back to, I don't want to be afraid of people's feedback. If pain is feedback, I don't want to be afraid of that. I don't want to be afraid of people getting feedback on what's happening in life. I'm interested in answering the high call in their life. They have a high call, not to just numb the pain, but to be a better person, to grow. That's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in seeing people grow. And so I'm going to go back. I'm going to say, what are you going to do? I'm going to go through the 5 E's that we learned in week 1. I'm going to walk through that with them. You know, what's the problem? Oh, I feel so bad. That is hard. You know, you just blew all of your money on baseball cards, and it wasn't worth it because there weren't any rookies in the pack. That's sad. I bet you missed that money. What are you going to do? And so now they're thinking about it. And we're walking down that road. Some people just need to keep going around the mountain and stay miserable. They just want you to walk around it with them. and kind of ease that pain a little bit. Don't get trapped in that cycle. Don't get stuck in that. I don't determine if you're motivated to change. I determine who I add my energy to. So I want to add energy to people that it's going to be a worthwhile investment, that are going to work on changing. I will point some things out to them that I might say, I'm not sure that this is going to help you, but then it's up to them to decide to adjust to that or not. When I was working at the counseling agency over in Preble County, at one point I was called by the county jail, had me out because they had a man in there who was awaiting trial for attempted murder on his wife. And he had some issue with the jail counselor, that he couldn't see him. I don't know if there was some family relation or something like that, but some kind of clash of interests. And so they had me come out. And what he had done is he had attempted to murder his wife, and she was badly injured, badly wounded with a knife, but survived. And then he had attempted to commit suicide after that on himself. And so he had scars on himself where he had tried to do that, but both of them survived. And he was in complete denial that he had done anything. He didn't want to admit that, and he had obvious scars. His plea, and the lawyer may have told him to do this, I don't know, but his plea was, I don't remember what happened. I don't remember anything. And basically we came to the point where I was saying, if you don't have a problem, I can't help you work on it. Like, I can't help somebody without a problem. And that's where we need to come to, is realize I can only help people who have their own problem. If he comes in and says, well, you know, the police just assume things and they're treating me unfairly and blah, 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 I can't help you with what they're doing. I can't help you with how unfair the process was. I can only help you to work on the problems that you're having. Do you have a problem that you'd like to work on? Because if you do, I would love to pour my resources in that. If you don't have a problem that you want to work on, I can't help you. He ended up firing me just because he was upset that I kept pressing him on the issue. I don't know what ended up happening. I didn't follow the story that close, but I'm pretty sure he was incarcerated after that. All the evidence completely weighed out against him. And I don't know what happened after that. But, you know, somebody comes in and they have a drinking problem. And they've been arrested for DUI. And they come in and I immediately want to hear, what is the problem? And they might, if they start going, well, the police were too hard on me, I wasn't that far over the limit, you know, they just mistreated me, they don't care, you know, it's because of this, this, and this. Pushing off blame on other people and complaining about that, why their life is so hard and unfair, I'm not going to have a lot of success helping this person because they don't have a problem. But if they're able, so I will push, I will say, so it's the police's fault that you were drinking and you brought it up to the line? Well, no, but they didn't have to be so hard on me. Well, but they were, but you were close to the line, right? That was your choice, right? You did that. And so I will push them on that until they will make it clear whether they want to work on the problem or not. And they may say, you know what, that was my choice. You know? And then I will say, okay, what are you going to do? And if they say, I don't know what I'm going to do, I will say, well, would you like some ideas? Because I've got a wealth of knowledge here. I don't have all knowledge, but I'm connected to the one who does. I've got a wealth of knowledge. Let me give you some of my ideas if you'd like to hear them. And I will give a few. You know, have you gotten into AA? Have you cleaned up your mess with the people that were hurt by this? Have you recognized that there's a problem here and you know, that your drinking is trying to deal with a need that you have? Have you worked on figuring out what that need is? And so I'll give them several options, and ultimately they may start shooting them down. Yeah, I tried that, that doesn't work. Or, you know what, I'm not comfortable getting in groups, you know, whatever it may be. At that point I said, well, that's all I've got. Those are the ideas that I have. Do you have any others? And they may say, no, that's all I've got. Well, I said, well, okay. Well, let me know if you come up with something else or if you want to try one of my options. And that's where I would need to draw the line with them is, I'm happy to help somebody who has a problem, but I'm not going to be successful trying to help somebody who doesn't. Working harder on other people's problems is codependency. You need to allow pain to have its day. And the challenging thing is this can even be with your children. It's really hard. It's easy when somebody's a little more distant from you, but when it's your own children, your own family, maybe even your spouse, it is really hard to not just want to remove the pain because you see them going through it. But if you won't allow that pain to teach a lesson, you're going to create codependency. You're going to create a cycle where they will just come back to you to alleviate that pain. And if you catch yourself not knowing how to get out of codependency, my question is, what are you going to do? Like if you're recognizing I have codependent patterns, you're no longer a victim either because you're in this class. You're powerful. So maybe you don't know what to do, but what are you going to do about not knowing what to do? What are you going to do about that? It is your job to deal with that and work through whatever guilt, whatever you're dealing with that would cause you to be codependent with your children. Jesus said, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled." When I am looking to help people, I'm looking for people who are hungry and thirsty. I want people who really want something better, who really want a better life than what they're living. If I alleviate pain, they're looking to maintain the life that they're in. And I don't want to do that because they're not happy in the life that they're in. It's not what God has for them. He's got something so much bigger and better. So I want to put my energy into what will actually help them. Don't lead people to where they don't want to go. If they don't want to go to more health, if they don't want to find a better way to live, don't try to lead them there. They don't want to follow. This is something that C.S. Lewis wrote. I think I don't think I have it. I think you have it on your sheets, though. We can ignore even pleasure, but pain insists upon being attended to. God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. It is his megaphone to rouse a deaf world. No doubt, pain as God's megaphone is a terrible instrument. It may lead to final and unrepentant rebellion, but it gives the only opportunity the bad man can have for amendment. It removes the veil. It plants the flag of truth within the fortress of the rebellious soul. I don't believe that God gives us pain. What I believe happens is God allows us to choose pain and won't remove it until we choose to make the right choice. So if God sets up a law of gravity, so we know the law of gravity. This is science. You ever heard of this law? Gravity? Like
Yes.
if what goes up must come down, right?
Yeah.
If I go and I jump out of an airplane and I break the law of gravity, when I plummet to my death, is God punishing me because I broke the law? No, it's a consequence of the choice I made. That's how it works. I believe that when pain happens, oftentimes it's because God is just not interfering with choices that we've made. And we're reaping that. If I eat ice cream every meal a day for a month, I'm going to reap some pain from that. That is not God's punishment on me for eating ice cream every day for a month, for every meal all day. But that is not God's punishment. That is a consequence of the choice I made. And that pain will drive me to make some kind of adjustment. It may be only to get bigger clothes, but I will have to adjust in some way. But here's the thing. Pain is really only half the story. And this is where I think it gets exciting. Some people change because of vision. Most change because of pain. there's another reason that people can change. There's actually a better reason that we can change than pain. And I think that is really what we want to go for. See, one of the reasons I started this class is not because I was in misery or pain. It's because I had some vision that I'd like to get some more culture going in this church. And it was a change that I've made. I decided this year I want to start teaching more classes at this church because I feel like I've got some things to give and pour out. And I have some vision for what can happen if people will start catching this and living it. It wasn't in pain. It wasn't about pain. It was about me having vision for what can be. And so some people just know what they want and they go after it. Started keto 2 years ago, lost 225 pounds. Some people can just have enough vision, and I believe any of us can, that we will make the changes that we need to so that we can see things happen in our lives the way that we'd like our lives to be. I think about like Olympic athletes and how much discipline you need to have to do that, how much vision you need to have. They train for 4 years for one big event. They will forego all these, different kinds of foods and get up early and exercise to the extreme and practice over and over and over again, all because they have vision. They don't need to have a consequence. They don't need to have pain to get them to do that. In fact, sometimes they put themselves through a little bit of pain to get to where they want to go because they have vision. And so we want to think about, are we going to change because of vision or pain? If we don't, change is coming. Change happens in life. If I don't have some vision, I'm probably going to change eventually because of pain. I would much rather change because I've got some vision. I would much rather go forward in that. If we only change when we have pain, we will stop growing when the pain stops. So I want to have some vision attached to that. I want to think, what's beyond this pain? What could I actually become? What is something more that God might have for me? What is it that you're willing to lay down your life for success? What's the kind of life that you would give your life for? That's vision. That's what you want to go after in life. There's helpers need to develop a way to help other people grow in their vision for their life. There's a guy that last week I referred to the desire wheel. You guys saw that, enjoyed that. Tony Stoltzfus is a life coach who developed that. But he's got a book, it's called Coaching Questions. And it's just like 101 questions that will help get you thinking beyond your immediate circumstance. And it's really good to kind of, it's mainly geared toward coaches helping coach other people, but it's good for just yourself to start thinking, asking questions like, what would my life look like ideally if I didn't have these barriers and constraints that I see in front of me? What would I want my life to be? If money wasn't an option, what would I want to go after and do? If I wasn't trying to remove pain from my life, what would I want my life to be? A month or so ago, Aaron asked the question, talking about vision. If you had $50 million, what kind of things would you want to do with it? Now you're thinking about vision. Because if I just give you $1 million, you're thinking paying off debts and helping family a little bit. And pretty soon you just burn up $1 million. You didn't even know where it went, right? But if I'm talking $50 million, and if that's too small, make it bigger. What would you do with that? What kind of impact would you like to have? What would you like your life to be? Because then with vision, you'll forego some things. Gold medals and junk food don't go together. It just doesn't work that way. So I will let go of that because I've got vision for that gold medal. Here are, nobody can fill your destiny but you. You're the only one who can do that. Want to leave a legacy and nourish people who follow you. And so I want to ask some certain specific questions. Here's some sample questions. Where would you like to be in a few years? You know, so when I'm helping somebody, if we can get to the other side of what's going on with their pain, what is it that they would like to have? What do they want their future to be? What obstacles will you need to overcome to get there? So in other words, what would keep you from getting to that vision that you have? What are the things that you need to deal with? What's one step toward that goal you can take? It might be getting out of bed 5 minutes earlier tomorrow. One step. You don't have to figure out how to get it all done now. But every day, if you take one step toward that goal, you'll get closer to that. And then I want to push them on when will you take it, because it's all conceptual until I push you to say, all right, when are you going to do this? And then I want to check back in with them and say, how did it go? That healthy pressure will actually help people move toward change. That healthy pressure that you told me what you wanted to do. I didn't tell you what to do. You had the vision, right? And so you're much more likely to go after a vision that you have than one that I tell you to have. So I'm asking you, where is it that you want to go? Then we're looking for constraints and obstacles toward that. And then I'm asking you, when are you going to do it? And I'll check back. So what I want to do is I want to take just a couple of minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes, break into groups again. And I'd like you guys to come up with some questions on your own that you think might help push people toward vision. Okay, so there's my sample questions. But what are some things that you could ask people and just kind of experiment with each other and talk about that? So do that. Go ahead. We'll take about 4 or 5 minutes. Did anybody have a question that you're particularly proud of? And pride's not a sin in here, it's okay. But anybody have a question you thought, hey, this might be a good one you'd like to share with the group?
Can I volunteer someone else's?
Yes, yes you can.
What excites you?
I love it, yes. What excites you? So now I'm thinking vision. I'm thinking past, where the pain is and where I can go. Daisy, you have one?
I'm the same as her. I'm doing it for my husband, but he said, what are you willing to invest?
Yes. What are you willing to invest? So whatever you're going to put into where you'd like to be. Awesome. Love it. And yeah.
What is your part and what you think God wants you to do?
Yeah. Yeah. So where do you... I like how you bring God in, because you know His vision is not for you to just be a bum on the side of the road, right? God has amazing, wonderful vision for you, for His glory, to be. So you guys just took 3 minutes and you came up with some great questions that can help people start to focus past that. Now don't start asking questions like that before you've gotten through the empathy part, okay? Don't go straight through, what's the vision for your life when a person's in the middle of a crisis. Make sure you're getting, going through your 5 E's first, going through that. But as you're starting to develop and they're starting to get to the root of where their pain is, now it's time to bring in, let's get vision. Let's see where we would like to end up. One of the biggest reasons I started this class was because I have some vision of where I'd like to be in 5 years. I would like to actually eventually, some of these classes I'm doing now, I'd love to have other people able to teach the same class. I don't want it to just be my show. I'd like it to be something that I can actually get more of a healthy culture. We have a healthy culture here, but I want to develop further. More of a healthy culture going here, so that if I leave, if God calls me to retirement in the Bahamas or something, although I'd rather have mountains, but regardless, Estes Park. If God calls me to retirement there, that this would continue, that it wouldn't just stop because I stopped, that my ministry wouldn't die because I died. It's something that I'd like to see, because I'm gaining some vision for that. So that, in essence, is we want to be careful about removing pain, and we want to be more persistent about finding the root, the cause of the pain. What's going on? What caused that pain in your life? What is the pain indicating that needs to be addressed? Now, as we do that, as we go through helping, there's another situation that I want to address. There's a certain trap that we need to look out for. It's called the compassion trap. The compassion trap. We want to be moved by compassion. Jesus was moved by compassion. So compassion is not a bad thing. But if we let it turn into codependence, it is. All right? So I can't be more invested in people's problems than they are. What does it look like if I'm more invested in people's problems than they are? I'm working harder to find a time to meet with them than they are. I tell them I have this time open in my calendar. Will that work for you? Oh, no, I can't do that. Okay, well, the next one I have is 3 weeks out. Oh, 3 weeks? I can't do 3 weeks. Can you do something this weekend? No, I have plans with my family this weekend. But I need to see somebody. I need to, and my job won't let me off. Well, then, maybe you want to find somebody else. But that's the time that I have. Okay, so I care. I'm offering time to somebody, but I'm not working harder to make accommodations on their problem than they are. And so we want to think about when compassion and desire to help others become harmful. Because if you're in here, it is one of your superpowers, compassion. It is one of the things that God has gifted you with, compassion. But if it's used wrong, it'll also be a weakness in you. Anybody ever have compassion become a weakness? Yeah. And it's because we care. And so we don't want to stop caring. We don't want to just, break ourselves off so much that, well, I only care about my family. I'm not going to ever help anybody else again because I saw my compassion get the best of me and I didn't like it. But I want to do it with wisdom. I want to figure out how can I give compassion to people and make sure that I stay healthy and that I'm promoting health in them. And so we don't want to be so committed to loving people that we cross a line into no longer helping them, and we're throwing wood on a fire that should have died down. That I'm continuing to go after this and continuing to try to help them in something that shouldn't. See, compassion is vital, but again, if I'm working hard at them, something is broken. I'm going to tell you a story of a woman that I used to help at a church where I used to pastor. There's a woman, I don't know how she got our number, but she lived a couple of states away. And years ago she had a surgery to put artificial lenses on her eyes because she was having some floaters and some problems in her eyes. So she got artificial lenses on her eyes. And she just so regretted ever doing this. She felt like she'd betrayed God, that this was just a terrible thing, and that her life could not be complete unless she had fully natural lenses in her eyes. So she would spend her days, all day long, calling every ministry that believed in healing, all over the country, and probably even outside of the country, to get people to pray for her, to get her eyes to be healed so that she'd have natural lenses again. Now she believed this could happen. Right? She had some level of faith. But there's something else broken here if that determines whether her life is valuable or not, whether she has natural lenses in her eyes. And so she would call me once a week and ask me to pray for her. And I would tell her, you know what, we believe in healing. I will spend some time praying for you once a week. I will not do beyond that. I will not talk to you every day, but I will pray for you once a week. I do think you've got more going on than the lenses in your eyes. But I'll be happy to pray for you. And so I did that, and I was full-time employed by the church, and it was not an issue for me to do that. And we kind of have a standing time that I'd pray for her, and we talk, and she talked about discouragement and stuff. And she'd travel the country and with her son, who didn't believe in healing at all, and wasn't even Christian, but was kind of enabling his mom as well. And she'd go to every person who believed in healing from every camp that you can think of, every denomination you can think of, and try to get them to pray for her. And once even she was passing through Ohio and said, hey, I'm in the neighborhood, could you pray for me in person? So I even met her in person once and prayed for her. And eventually When that job dried up, I told her, I can't talk to you every week anymore. I'm going to volunteer. I'm no longer full-time employed, and so you're going to need to find somebody else to do that. And a few months later, her son sent me an email and said that she committed suicide. And I had no indication that that was going to happen. Otherwise, I would have taken measures, obviously. But it was just deeply grieving for me to see that. And I said, God, this woman would have been better off if she didn't believe in healing. Like if she just thought you just live with your problems and move on, she's probably just accepted it and moved on. And and I felt God was saying, yes, there's more to work on than just physical health issues in people. There's more going on that they need to deal with. And I will pose the question to you, because I'm not positive. I don't carry shame or guilt for that was her choice, what she did. But I'll pose the question to you, based on some of the things we've talked about, what I've taught. Is there anything that you might have said that I should have done different? Any thoughts?
Ask more questions.
Yeah? Maybe ask more questions, like, is she going to be safe if we don't talk anymore? Yeah? Yeah? Any other thoughts?
Well, even asking more questions earlier into what your thought patterns, why is this the issue? You know what I mean? So that you can get down to the root.
I believe I did that. I think that she would continue to come back to, all I care about is getting these lenses healed. She had no insight. She couldn't even look at that. So, it may have been better to set a boundary early with her about that and basically say, I can't really help you if you're not willing to work on this issue. Maybe. I don't know, because I do think that she might have done something drastic even earlier if I hadn't continued that, but I can't be her source. I can't. Yeah.
Did you ask her why it was so important to her?
Well, and I did.
She
And I don't know that she could even identify it. She just felt that her life was incomplete if she had artificial lenses in her eyes. So she was so desperate for this miracle that if she didn't get it, her life was not valuable. And she didn't have the insight or even the desire to look at that problem, the root. All she could see is, if my eyes were healed, everything would be okay. And, it wasn't God punishing her. It wasn't anything like that. She had a lot going on with her, and she probably had a lot of, I know she had a lot of codependency going on with her son, and I'm not sure that I didn't play into some of that, of me kind of continuing to go with that cycle and allowing that. I don't know that because I have the time that I can do it, I don't know that I necessarily needed to set that boundary. I don't know if that would have actually changed anything or not. But as we'll talk about in a minute, ultimately sometimes things are just people's choices too. People have free will. And so I will offer to people what I can, but I'm going to set limits around that. And I think, as I was mentioning before with that lady, one of the things that I might rethink is the boundaries that I set around how I'm going to help. So I did do some boundaries. I didn't say, call me whenever you want. I didn't give her my home number. I didn't, do this, that, and the other. But I might have even said, I will pray for you if you're getting help from this. Or, or I might even say, I'm not sure that I'm going to be enough to help you, and set that boundary. Keep in mind, boundaries are there to keep health inside of you. Nobody else is going to take care of the health inside of you if you don't. Boundaries are not there to punish anybody. But I don't let pet rattlesnakes into my house. I don't want to do that. And so if you have a pet rattlesnake, you can leave it outside and come in, or we'll talk to each other through the window, and you can show me this wonderful pet rattlesnake that you have. Okay. But I'm not going to allow that to come into my house. And so once you're willing to deal with the issue, yes, come in. Let's talk. let's see. But if you're going to bring something in that's going to be unhealthy for me, then I'm going to put up a boundary. I'm going to put up, and boundaries look different for different people. If you have a garden and you have bunny rabbits who keep chewing on the lettuce, you might put a little bit smaller, shorter boundaries around that. If you have deer that come in and keep eating out of your garden, you're going to need something a little higher. So depending on who you're dealing with may also determine what kind of boundaries you're going to need to set with people. And so if they're not respecting this boundary, you may need to set this boundary. And so what I mean by that is, if I say to somebody, listen, I don't feel like it's healthy in my life for you to be calling me every day with the problems that you have. That's not something I'm willing to do. And they ignore that. Well, now I need to block them. Okay, that's the next level of boundary. That they wouldn't respect the boundary that I initially set, so I'm going to set the next boundary. If I use my strength past my healthy line, my strength becomes my weakness. My gift is now perpetuating the problem. Some people feel like they're helping when lots of people come to them with their problems. And when lots of people complain to them, it makes you feel important. You know, everybody's telling me what their issues are, what their problems are. But I might just be involved with everybody's problems that nobody wants to fix. That doesn't mean I'm being helpful. So just because people come to you with problems doesn't mean you're helping them. You might get a reputation for people that they think that you're going to be codependent for them, that you're going to enable them. It's real easy to get a lot of needy people to come to you if you just give out free cash. You know? And so I want to learn and figure out what kind of boundaries to set. If I don't set boundaries, I'm basically setting a sign up in my front yard that says, I'm the city dump. Come dump whatever you want into my front yard, and I'm happy to take it, and pretty soon my yard starts stinking as bad as your yard did, because you just piled everything into my house. If you allow irresponsible people to participate in your environment, that is your fault. That's a boundary that you need to set. So some of those things might be, I don't want to participate in gossip. If somebody comes to me and complains about somebody else, I'm going to say, when are you going to talk to them about it, or do I need to? And they'll be like, wait, I didn't want to talk to them about it, I just want to complain to you. Well, I'm going to. So do you want to tell them first, or did you want me to? And, you know, as Danny Silk says, one of two wonderful things will happen then. Either they will get to the root of the problem they had with that person, or they'll never tell you their problems again. Either one is a wonderful solution. Okay? And so,
I have a question.
mhm.
How do I know when I need to set a boundary?
Well, it would be situation to situation, but you know, you're gonna ask yourself questions like, if I allow this in my life, is it going to be healthy? Am I going to be healthy? Am I going to be able to maintain health in my life if this comes in? What am I going to be giving up if I allow this part? And then, will that person be moving toward health in their life? Are they trying to improve their situation using me, or are they asking me to just take away their pain, like we talked about a minute ago? So I'm going to ask myself a few questions like that to kind of decide where I am, what's healthy for me, and where they are pursuing that. Because, you know, as far as where I am, there may be people who actually are willing to work on their problems, but I just don't have the time to help them. And so my life would get worse if I let that in. And they're not going to steward that for me. I need to steward that. So it's not saying that everybody I would turn down is because they may not be pursuing health. Sometimes it's just a matter, I've got to go after my own health first. If I'm not taking care of myself, nobody else is going to do that step for me. I've got to be the one doing that.
I feel like there's a situation where I'm not setting a boundary, but I think I'm okay with it. And I think that person is pursuing help, but we haven't really
Well, and so like I say, boundaries are there to keep health in.
Mhm.
So I can let things in that I say, hey, that's healthy, that's not a problem, I'm okay doing that, you know? You ever see the movie The Blind Side? Where the lady lets the football player live in their house with them. And so she's basically saying, you know, it's not something I would necessarily do, but it's a great story, and she decided what she was going to let in. And in the movie, she basically at one point says, hey, if this doesn't feel safe to the rest of the family, we can set a boundary here. And they all say, no, it's okay. We like having him here. We feel like it's helping. And she's seeing that it's improving his life. And so the only reason you need to set a boundary is if health is not happening in one direction or the other. Otherwise, it's just, you know, it's just an agreement. We're both moving forward, and praise God.
I have a question too. Mine's kind of about like gossip or having a problem with someone or something. Sometimes, like in my life, I just need to debrief and like release some stuff. That's not always very nice perspective to have, you know, maybe towards that person, like they were annoying or whatever. And a lot of times I will do that with the Lord, you know, I'll process with the Lord in my car about whatever. But sometimes I just need to debrief. So where's the line between like you have a big problem with this person, or you just kind of have to let it out, like?
Well, if you're coming to me, there will not be debriefing. Okay? So if you're coming to me with a problem with a person, I will be expecting you to work that out with them or bring that to them. Oftentimes what people are talking about when they say they're debriefing, they're actually dealing with their own issues. So if you've got issues that you recognize this person is triggering in me, that I should be dealing with it better, well, I can work with that. Okay? And so like, you know, I just get so annoyed because they squeeze the toothpaste from the middle. Well, that's not necessarily an issue. Like, you could bring that up with them, but it's more, why is that annoying you so much? Why is that is there a control issue going on? Is there something happening? So that would be more of the kind of thing I would be kind of saying, if you want to work on you, adjusting you to deal with that, because you're really not asking them to change.
Right.
You're wanting to just accept who they are better. I can work with that. But I'm not going to, I'm not, you know, a lot of people will say, well, I'm just venting, when really it's turning into gossip. And if I allow that to come in, I can let offense come into my heart against somebody that I didn't even have a problem with.
Right.
So I don't want to get into that. I don't want to become a source for that.
So venting's bad?
If it's about you complaining without working on the problem, yes.
Well, maybe what she was saying is like, you just have to get it out, and sometimes you hear it, and then you go,
If you bring
then you're okay with
if you
it.
bring a problem out with me, and you expect me to just listen to you complain about somebody, that's not going to, that could bring me down into an offense, and I'm not going to allow that. If you're bringing it up because you don't know how to deal with that, because you know it's an issue in you, so let's, you know, like I say, you're frustrated with somebody, but you know that you shouldn't be, or it's not that big a deal, and you're wondering why, then I'll help you walk through that. But no, I don't think, I don't want to go to another person with an offense that I have against somebody else that I'm not willing to work through. Now, you might come to me to figure out how do I talk to them about it, but I don't want to be carrying information about an offense somebody else has, and I don't want to be knowing that and feel like I have to keep a secret from somebody. Especially in the church, I don't want to have people that I feel like I know stuff that an issue somebody has and I can't tell them about it. I'm not going to get into that. That's not going to help in the culture.
Does that line look the same in a marriage?
Pardon me?
Does that line look the same in a marriage?
What lie?
No, that line.
Oh, that line. Even in our marriage, I'm still saying, you know, how are you going to confront them? I mean, Angie and I have the conversation all the time now, because my goal is to have healthy relationships with people. My goal is not to figure out how to have a safe distance from as many people as I can. So if I'm stirred up, that a healthy thing I can do is go to them and talk about what's bothering me. Now, they may not know how to handle that, but I'm not hiding it anymore. I want to become comfortable enough that I can bring it up to them and say, I was hurt, I was frustrated. In my relationships, I want to pursue connection. I don't want to pursue safe distance. And so a lot of times, me venting is just me stuffing that offense that I have and trying to pretend like it's not there, but then it comes up again. And so what I'm wanting to do is figure out how can I value this person and show them that I still care about them, but bring the issue up that's at hand. So one thing that Angie and I are trying to work on and pursue is we want to have healthy relationships with the people around us. And when I was in community mental health, one of the sayings we would have is, secrets constipate a family. And that's what happens is if you have too many secrets, we just don't talk about that issue, we just don't face that. Then you don't get to know each other. You don't have real relationship because I'm hiding a piece of myself from you. Now, when I confront somebody, especially if it's just a personality conflict or something like that, it's just an invitation for them to get to know me and me to get to know them. It's not me having to agree with them. Like, it says in the Bible you should squeeze the toothpaste tube from the end, not the middle. Right? I'm not trying to win an argument. I'm trying to understand them. I'm trying to get them to understand me. And we don't have to agree for that. But I do want to be clear with them, when you squeeze toothpaste from the middle and I see it, I feel really irritated and disrespected. And they may say, well, why? It's just toothpaste. Why do you care? Well, then I'm trying to figure out what's going on inside of me, and I might say something like, well, I feel like I've worked really hard to keep things clean and in order, and I see that. It doesn't look orderly to me. And so I feel like all the work that I've done is not being respected. Now I'm telling you about me. I'm not telling you what's wrong with you. I'm telling you about me. And they may come back and say, no, that's not, I love all the work you do. I totally respect that. And that is not at all the message I'm trying to send you. When I do that, when I squeeze from the middle, I do it because it's the easiest thing for me to do, because the toothpaste comes out the fastest that way. And so now you're having a dialogue. Maybe there's some compromise, or maybe there's just understanding. And you're just like, okay, I will try to not read that as disrespect anymore, because I know you're not trying to send me that message anymore. I'm just asking you to recognize that I do struggle with reading that as disrespect. We're both trying to adjust. What I want to become is, I want to become a grocery store. Okay? I don't want to be the city dump. I want to be a grocery store. In a grocery store is where people get sustenance, nutrition to bring into their lives. They come through, they pick out what they want, and they leave. I don't want to be a place where people toss their trash around. I want to be a place where I've got some resources that could be helpful. You don't have to take all of them. You can decide what you want. I can recommend what the healthiest diet is, but if you want to do all junk food, you can do that. But I don't sell a lot of junk food at my grocery store. I'm not selling a whole lot of that. So you can come in and decide what you want, and if that's not enough, you can go find some other place to dump your garbage. Okay? I want to get good. Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot this. When people come and talk to me and they bring some different scenarios in their life, I learn something that might never happen in mine. They've made choices that I would never see myself making. And so I don't want to carry that with me. Like I said, I was helping this guy who attempted murder. Never a choice that I've considered in my life. Okay? But I want to be able to be there to give him resources to work on that. But when it's done, I don't want to have to carry that home with me. I don't want to carry that garbage, that trash with me. So we'll pick through his bag of garbage, and then we'll put it back in his bag, and I'll hand it back to him as he leaves. And then he can take whatever groceries that we have, he can take those with him and learn and heal. See, I want to get really good at knowing where their situation stops and where mine starts. I want to be good at figuring out where that line is. and I want to be able to let go of their situation. Compassion wants to embrace everyone's pain, and you can't live like that.
Josh,
Uh-huh.
what was the quote you just made before that one? Sorry.
Secrets constipated family?
No.
I want to get good at knowing where their situation stops and how to let go of it.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
I want to get good at knowing where their situation stops and how to let go of where mine begins. So I don't want to mix situations up. And if you help people long enough, you can get pretty good at that, but every once in a while a situation will come up that you're like, oh, it got behind, I let this one in. When I was helping abused children, and I had children that were close to the same age, I had to be really clear on where that boundary was and how to leave it there, and every once in a while I would still get in. I'd still be thinking about, oh my gosh, I don't want my kids to ever leave the house, ever. And so, you have to really work on that of recognizing where the situation stops. So don't let your gift become a curse because you didn't pay attention to being a grocery store instead of letting yourself be a city dump. Don't let people just come in and dump their issues on you. When many of us who get into helping people, we get in it to try to make a difference. The second job I had out of graduate school, I worked at a children's home. And I go, and nobody gets into mental health, to get rich. You go in because you want to make a difference in people's lives. And it only amplifies if you know Jesus. If you know Jesus, you've got the key with you to really change people's lives. And so, I'd go in and I'd be a witness to kids, and every once in a while, if I was working a weekend, I'd even bring them into our church and kind of just let Jesus work on them. But so many of them would go in and out, and they'd go back to the same lifestyle that they were in. And I came to a point where I had to recognize that I couldn't change them. I couldn't love them enough to make them change. That's a hard lesson to learn, especially when you have compassion. Like, it's really hard to recognize that I don't control whether they change. And we just think, if I just love them enough, it would all work out. If I just loved them wholly, then they would just live the life that was perfect. We know the answer, but they still have to embrace the answer. It is still their free will and their choice to do that. And if you're not careful, you'll fall into the trap to thinking you did something wrong because they made a bad choice. And you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that with your spouse. You don't want to do that with your kids. You don't want to do that with any of the people that you're helping. They have free will. You do the best that you can. But in the end, they get to make that choice. Nobody can do that for them. As much as you love them, you can't love somebody perfect enough to violate their free will and make the choice for them. In the end, they have to decide that. The only thing that you're doing wrong when that happens is letting compassion overstep what's really happening. Okay? Letting compassion rule you instead of letting compassion motivate you, but letting them make their own choices. It's a hard boundary to set. I know that. I know, because you want so bad to see them change, especially if they're family. But in the end, you can't do that for them. So you want to help people who want help. I'm looking for people who want help. I want to feed the hungry. I give water to the thirsty. So I'm looking for thirsty people. I'm looking for hungry people. And not everybody wants to go where you're headed. In Matthew 4, when Jesus calls Matthew, or when he calls Peter and Andrew, and then later James and John, he goes to them and he says, "Follow me, I'll make you fishers of men." And then he starts walking and he keeps going. And so, you can imagine Peter saying to Andrew, "Who was that?" He said his name was Jesus. What did he say? He said to follow him and he'd make us fishers of men. Why did he say that? I don't know. But he's getting smaller and smaller as he's walking away. What do you want to do? I think I'm going to follow him. Okay. And so they start following. But Jesus wasn't like walking behind them, pushing them and saying, come on, I'm going to make you fishers of men. Let's go, let's go. He said, follow me. And he's looking for hungry and thirsty people to follow him. People change because they're ready to change. Sometimes pain will motivate that, but even that sometimes doesn't. People are going to do what they're ready to do. I want people to know that I really fully believe your marriage will work out. Your relationships will work out. Your financial situation will work out. But I'm not going to love you well enough to just make that happen. I'm here to help you figure that out and work that out. But I don't control that. I really believe you'll find a job that you love. I believe that. But you're going to have to walk the steps. Even if you're my child or my spouse, you'll change when you're ready to change. Not because I loved you so well, you decided to change. Now that, I can love you poorly and that might make a barrier. But I can't put the burden on me to change people. Open hearts are changed, and Holy Spirit's the one that comes in and changes them. Jesus is the one that changes them. But even Jesus won't change somebody who doesn't want to. And so, lastly, I just want to mention a quick Bible story about boundaries and how Jesus lived. When the story of Lazarus being raised from the dead, he gets word that Lazarus is dying. And he had compassion, but he didn't rush off immediately. He actually waited because God was having him do something else at the time. And he didn't allow his compassion to supersede God's timing. And so eventually Lazarus dies, and Jesus knows it. And he shows up 4 days late. Lazarus is dead for 4 days. And because of that, one of the greatest miracles in Scripture happens, and Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. And he was sensitive to waiting for God's timing on things, rather than just letting complete compassion drive him without being sensitive to the Holy Spirit. We're not saying compassion is bad. Compassion is a gift. If you have compassion, it'll drive you to do amazing things. But I don't want to allow my compassion to supersede what God is doing, where He's pulling. And I don't want compassion to cause me to think that I can control people because I just love them well enough. All right, so any questions? I want to do a last short activity, but any questions before I do that? Because I know that the youth are getting out here in the next couple of minutes. I think we have at least one or two.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah.
If you have somebody in your life, if I need to say if I have somebody in my life that's been dumping, and kind of, I'm seeing a pattern of that, what's a good way to let that person know that I'm not the dump anymore?
Have you started that conversation at all? Have you tried anything yet? Or you just kind of allowed it to pile on?
I'm just seeing that pattern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Part of that, what I would suggest you might start with some vulnerability on your side. And you're saying, I want to come in saying, I want amazing things for your life. I want to see you healed and whole, but I don't feel like the way this is going is going to help you get there. And so, and I statements, I'm telling about me, not what's wrong with you, but I don't feel like that's going to help you get there. I don't feel like it's going to help. So one of the things that would help me is if we actually have a goal that we're working on. So what would you like to, is there something I can help you work on? And if you can't do that, then I may need to set some limits on when we meet or what we talk about and that kind of thing. And that may be offensive to them, which can be hard, especially if you're compassionate, and especially if you're like me and you don't like confrontation, But what will eventually happen for you then is you'll either have vision or the pain is going to get bad enough that you need to change it, right? And so it may be a hard conversation, but I would start with sharing what's going on inside of you, not accusatory, but I'm just not sure if this is, I just don't feel like what we're doing is really a help to you. I know you like to talk to me about this stuff, but I'd really love to work on a solution.
Thank you.
Yeah, Sylvia?
Sorry, I have a paper with one blank not filled.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're
no.
all stuff
Number
like
15.
here.
What are we gonna do?
I missed it.
I don't, well, can I see which,
Compassion to just think we can do things for people we haven't been able to do yet, but we are really here to help people restore their life.
self-control,
Okay, thank you.
restore their self-control. Yeah,
That would have driven me nuts.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
there something here?
I have some self-control issues.
No, that's good. So one of the things that we do in Sozo Ministry is after we have a session, we dust off. We pray each other and we just dust off any negative things that you know, because I don't want to carry people's junk on, that they dump there. And I don't want them to walk out with it either. We just pray it off. And so that what it looks like is we just stand off and I just say, I command any spirit that's on you that you picked up on this to leave, that's not, you know, from the Lord. Command it to leave now, never come back, and ask Holy Spirit to fill you wherever you need it. So what I'd like you to do in the next couple minutes is I'd like you to just dust each other off. Just bless people and just pray off of people whatever baggage they carry from compassion or trying to help people or other people's issues. Things that weren't yours that you might have picked up, just turn to each other and just spend a minute or two. Just all you're going to do is say, I dust you off in Jesus' name, command those things to leave, ask Holy Spirit to fill. Okay?